And that, my friend, is how a bill becomes a law. Welcome to the newest, freshest, most ridiculous episode of Life in the IEP Tribe. I'm here, and I being Jared, with my wife Laura, and we have with us another special guest. Now, I got to tell you, this whole guest thing is really cool because I really like hearing what other people have to say and their perspectives on things. And I realized when we first started doing this that my depth of knowledge wasn't enough to carry on many, many episodes. So now we can talk to other people.
Yeah, it's definitely been helpful to help us. Like, we've learned a lot, and hopefully other people have learned some things, a thing or two.
Yeah, and so it's been a lot of fun. And again, like I said, we have another.
Sure.
We have another special guest who has a pretty interesting story as to how she came about in the world of teaching special education. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop talking. And Laura, I'm going to let you introduce her.
All right. So with us today, I always say tonight because we record at night, but some people might be listening during the day. But anyway, so for this episode, we have our friend and co-worker, Amber Lueth, who we came to know last year. We got a student, and that was, I guess, unplanned, and we said, okay, well, yeah, we're okay with that, but she's got to come with them. So that's how we got her as part of our crew. And then just through some series of events and some other unplanned things, she now is teaching one of our classes. So she started off as assisting us with a student as a para last year, and when she was worked as our para or a para this year with our third class, and just really took the lead in the classroom. And then when it was time to hire somebody, then she got the job, and so she is now our third teacher.
And we didn't even have to drug her.
I know, she came willingly.
It wasn't even one of those things where it was, okay, so this kid is young, she's got a lot of life in her. We need to make sure that she doesn't leave us. And so, but no, we didn't. She wanted to be there. And that's kind of strange, but it's a good thing that you want to be there, because if you didn't, it would be pretty miserable. That was deep, wasn't it? Yeah. See, I know some things. So, Laura, go ahead and kick this off with Amber.
All right. So I know when we were kind of preparing for this a little bit, you told me that this isn't something that you thought you would do, which I had no clue, because you're such a natural and you're a para, and that a lot of times is the progression. So why don't you give us a little bit of background of how you got into the special education field, and then how you made that transition.
Yes, I actually became a para when my oldest started kindergarten, to have the same schedule as she did for school, because the schedule that I was working when I was in a law office was not the best with her school schedule. And when there were snow days or days off, the law offices were still open, so it didn't work. So if I was a para at her school, I could be home when she was home with her over the summer, take her to school. And they just put me in a special education classroom. It was a therapeutic learning program, and worked one-on-one with kids that had behaviors, and tried to get them into the classroom. And if they had to be taken out, we took them out, and we always tried to keep them in the classroom as long as they were being safe with the other students. And I just continued to do that. And then we moved down here, and same thing. I knew I didn't want to go back into a law office because it was boring, and it's the same thing every single day. And the job now is never boring, and it is never, ever the same thing.
Right. And you can certainly have 5 separate experiences during the course of the week,
Yes.
even with the same students. And so, of course, we've shared a lot of those students, and we're familiar with those students as well. So, what kept you from running away when you first ended up in a classroom that was a special education classroom?
At first I did. When I first started, I was like, I can't do this. I can't. But the kids grew on me, and I felt good when I went home, being able to help them and regulate themselves and use all their strategies. And I felt good coming home.
It makes a big difference when you feel like what you do matters.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that I've worked a handful of jobs over the course of my life, and there aren't many of them, like the ones that I all left, with the exception of maybe one. I found myself thinking, yeah, there's not a whole lot of real value to this. I'm helping somebody make money, and I don't really care about that. But
that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
At the law offices and taking people's houses. I never ever felt good.
Oh gosh.
When I went home at night, it was not good. I was making peanuts, and the lawyers were getting all the money, and they weren't doing all the work.
Yeah, I get that.
This is a rewarding job, where the
Yes.
other one is not.
It's not.
Was not.
So, what is it that made you decide that you wanted to take it a step further and go for the teaching instead of staying as a para?
I don't really know, other than I knew that I wanted to do it, what I was doing, and help the kids and be able to advocate for them and push for inclusion and help them meet all of their goals in any way that I can. I love buying things to help them reach their goals.
So you
heard.
needed the salary. You needed the salary. Yeah, those big bucks that we all get, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I know Laura's story is very similar to yours. She started as a para as well. And then it was really funny because one day she's like, hey, guess what? I just signed up for school. I was like, oh, wow. Okay, that's cool. And then, fast forward and she's teaching as well. And so I think there's a lot to be said for somebody who, they find themselves in the middle of the special education world, and then being willing to say, I'm willing to invest time, money, sanity, like all of these things into a profession that, this isn't going to come as a shock to anybody, isn't making anyone rich, right? So there has to be that fulfillment of the job itself, because if somebody's doing it just for the money, or even, it's not going to pan out very well.
No, that's for sure. So, we're talking about, I went about the same route that you did. Jared didn't para, he subbed, but then, so yeah, a little bit of experience in the classroom. What do you find that has been valuable from going from a para to a teacher instead of, because we've all gone that non-traditional route where we didn't go to school to be a teacher and have the student teaching, and but as far as the experiences as a para, what skills or tools did you bring into your classroom now that you developed or learned while you were a para?
A lot of different things. I've learned things from you guys, and I've learned things from the people that I worked with before. And I worked closely with the BCBA up in Connecticut. She taught me a lot of different things, and just kind of bringing it all together and seeing what works best for a certain kid. It might not work for another one, and just knowing what will work for one might not work for the other. And then you got to be flexible and try and come back around to figure something else out that will work for them.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things that I think is challenging. It's like, okay, well, we tried this, and I think it's easy sometimes to try it for a couple of days and go, oh, nope, it's not working. Let's throw it away. And So I find sometimes it's difficult to, nope, okay, let's give it a shot for, this many days and at least try it, instead of saying, well, we gave them this manipulative, and well, you just throw it, and okay, we can't have that anymore. So let's try to reintroduce and try to help them learn how to use it. So do you feel that your background with working close with the BCBA has helped you prepare for this position you're in now?
I think so, yes.
So talk a little bit about, try to see how I want to say that. So we know that the IEP is individualized. What are some of the ways that you have to individualize your instruction for your students?
It's really tailoring it to their goals. Some of them can do things that others can't, and making sure you have things that, for one, that they can realistically do, and for everything is tailored to their individual needs and their goals. Because what might be somebody else's goal, and they have a way of that they can do it, and you try and do it with somebody else, they might not be able to learn it and pick it up the same way as the other student.
Right. Yeah.
So they tailor it around what works for them.
Mm-hmm. And what they like. I know you are really big on providing things that they're interested in, and I know we talked about one. And we talked in one of our other episodes about really learning the students and their, not just their needs and their abilities, but what they're interested in. And you do a fantastic job at including things that they're interested in the instruction. And can you give us a couple examples of what you've done with that?
The number blocks make them 3 of the 5 love the number blocks. And so when they're working on their goal where they have to match the number and count out, here's number 5, show me 5. I've done the little math cubes and I've stacked them up to look like the number blocks. Because if they know the colors of them, they will put them in order. So you got to make sure that it's not, oh, I know that this one goes here and this is how they go in the color of the number blocks. So I get the white blocks and I build them to look like the number blocks so that they can match them to the numbers. But the number blocks are a big one. They like those.
That's
I like all the way around.
Yeah. All of them like
Well, what's crazy is like we hear these stories of our students learning all these great skills, and as much as I would love to take credit for it, no, it's the number blocks. The kids watch number blocks. They watch, if they have free time, they want to watch number blocks. But we'll take what we can get.
One of the moms told me that her son is obsessed with numbers now, and he has a number chart, and he goes and he traces them and points to them all night long.
That's great.
Well, and that is, and that's one of the things about working in special education as well as raising a child with special needs, is that there has to be a lot of flexibility on the part of the teacher and the parents, because sometimes you're going to have to learn how to just roll with certain situations, and if you don't have kind of that toolbox with you, different ideas, different approaches, it's real easy to find yourself getting stuck. And so I know that we found, when we talk about the classes that we've had, our first year in the school that we're in now, our classrooms were very different than what they are today. And the kids are very different than that first group. And so what worked with that first group doesn't necessarily work with the rest of them. And as far as raising children goes, we know that even those that develop typically, woo, Curtis, I don't know that talking is working very well this evening. Those that are learning things as what would be called almost normal. It's hard as well. It's hard to raise kids and teach kids, and there's this this need for flexibility. But when it comes to, again, to our students, not only is every year different, but like you were saying, sometimes every day is different. What worked with the student today may not work with them tomorrow, and vice versa. So let me ask you this. As far as your transition from being a paraprofessional and moving into the classroom setting, being the one, now your situation was a little bit different where we had this really odd situation, I guess that's what we'll call it, where we had a classroom with 2 paras and no teacher.
Right.
So it was like, well, how are we going to figure this out? But what have you, what's the word I'm looking for? What would you say is the biggest surprise in shifting from a para position to being the lead teacher in the classroom?
Definitely, I would say the IEP goals.
Yeah.
Making the IEP goals.
Like making them or tracking them or all of them.
Oh, right.
Just deciding what their goals should be. And it's hard to see, like, because some days they can do it real good and where they're at, and you don't know if you should move them up or keep them where they're at, or if they can. It's hard to track.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And identifying where to start is really difficult. Because, I mean, when you think about the school year in the general education setting, especially with teachers that teach the same grade or subject every year, there's kind of they already kind of have an idea of what they're going to do. They already have an idea of how they're going to present the material. They have a pretty good idea of the breadth of the spectrum of kids that they're working with. The highest and the lowest really not being, miles apart. And so they go into every year with an idea of what they want to do. Well, that doesn't quite work for us because not only do we have multiple students with multiple abilities, but we have multiple ages and are still required to teach multiple standards. And so it's kind of a double whammy because we have to try to learn the kid and then develop something specifically for them. And I don't remember why I started saying all that. Like my brain just went, bleh. It's kind of sound like the goat, ha! Right? It was just horrible. So, so that's us. Go ahead, Curtis. Help.
We were talking about her jumping into this role and then having to, like, evolve into the teacher and but I'm not know where you were trying to go.
Yeah. So work's hard. We're gonna go with that. And then the paperwork, right? So there's a ton of paperwork that comes along with it. That is by far the worst part of the job. Paperwork is stupid. They should just get rid of all of it. All right, let's see. Where are we at? Okay, I got it. So we have questions, right? We put these questions out so we don't have to do this.
Right.
So I'm going to pick a question.
Okay.
Here we go. Let's start with this one.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So not everybody knows, but we know that at the beginning of the year, there was a lot, that we had to kind of help each other put together and help do some different things. And our team moves around a lot. And so you've had to have a lot of collaboration and a lot of teamwork. So being in this role, how has your perspective on that, of collaborating with other teachers and having a team, how has it changed and evolved? Like, especially when you're, working with paras or other sped team members and are as you're now the teacher and not the para?
Well, I definitely know I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys for support and the
but mainly me, right?
mainly Mr.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's just because he's got the muscles.
Our team works really well together, and you can rely on them if you need something, or I don't know what I would do without anyone person on our team.
We I think we agree with that one. It's for those that don't know, we have a team of, is it 9 of us?
Yeah.
9 of us. And it's surprising how we function and get along, and not saying that there's never any hiccups, because coworkers, friends, families all have issues. However, for the size of team that we have, it does work well. And I feel like, just treating each other with that kindness and respect goes a long way too. Was it weird for you to go from working with this group? You were a para, and was it weird for you to step over to that teaching role? Did you feel weird, or?
I did feel weird. I don't know why. I just did.
No, I get that. We're going from being a para to a teacher, because I still, and like we've said, our paras, they're the reason why we can do what we're doing. And so, I think it's great to still have that para mindset, because we know what they make.
Yeah.
and we know that they do a lot and for that. And so me personally, I feel like it's good for teachers to have had that kind of experience, and I don't feel like I hope that they don't get taken for granted or advantage of.
So, yep. Hold on. I was going to say something. I forgot what it was. Again. Yeah. So what I was going to say, I remember now. I remember. So one of the cool things that we've been able to experience this year is we have 3 members of our team that have decided to go back to school and pursue being teachers, not moving from that para position to the teaching position. And it's been really cool to see other people not only experience the job with us and enjoy it, but grow such a connection with it that they are pushing forward in their education to, again, be teachers. What would you say if you could say we have one thought, one piece of advice, one bit of direction to any para out there that was considering becoming a teacher in the special education world?
I would say go for it if it's something that you're passionate about and that you love doing.
Right? Just kind of take a stab at it, because you never know. And again, this is one of those occupations that if you don't love the people you're serving, you're going to burn out pretty quick. You're not going to want. I think I read somewhere that the average career for a special education teacher was, I think, less than 5 years, if I remember correctly.
Oh, wow.
Just because of how hard it is, and and there's not a bunch of money in it. But the truth is that working in the setting that we work in, if you got paid a ton of money, it still would be very hard to stick with it if you don't love the kids, because it is a whole different world. It is a whole different tribe, as we've mentioned numerous times. And so, I think that you can also take that advice and share that with parents. And, I know parents don't typically choose for their children to have special needs, right? they kind of shock them when it comes along, right? And we're not expecting, but at the same time, I think it really is great advice to really urge and support parents and say, hey, listen, but jump in. Like some of our other guests have said, it gets messy, it gets kind of crazy sometimes, and it's not necessarily all, because I don't know about you, but I know there's times when we have conversations with people, and one of the standard questions is, oh, so what do you do? And when you tell them that you work in special education, they go, aw. It's like, no, listen, I've got scars I'm looking at right now from those children that you go, aw. No, because it's a tough relationship to grow when we're working with students with special needs. And yes, there are some that are just sweet as candy, but they're kids. And even the best of kids can be turdy. Right? And so, but what we have to do for their benefit, for our benefit is like you said, Amber, just, you kind of have to dive in. And one thing that I know has been huge for us is that willingness to kind of approach every day as a new day,
Mm-hmm.
and that we have to have short memories. And they talk about football players, quarterbacks, they throw an interception. Well, they have to have a short memory, come back out, and it's kind of the same thing.
Right. Well, yeah, you can't. If we hold things about that happened the day before and try to, well, now we're not going to do that again today, right? That doesn't help anybody. And then they just remember that, oh yeah, I did do that. Let me do that again. Yeah, clean every day with a clean slate, because at the end of the day, and I know, we've seen you, Amber, evolve into a fantastic teacher, and your love for the kids is apparent, and I would not think that you would be there if that wasn't there. So
I think I ran out of words. How about you, Critty?
It's hard at the end of the week, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because in our world, tomorrow's Friday. And Fridays are always worse than, not worse, but they're harder because we've been getting up and going all week. And it's like, oh, Friday. So Thursday night, Friday Eve is hard.
Well, Miss L, you have anything else you want to share with our listener out there? Both of them?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, that's fine and dandy. There's nothing wrong with that. See, that's something, but see, and that's something strange too, because let's be honest, how many teachers have you ever met
I don't like to talk.
right? So it's like,
Me.
yeah, it's one of those things, every teacher, and then we'll end with this because I'm afraid I'll say something to get myself in trouble. But every staff meeting you ever sit in is full of teachers, right? I mean, we work at schools. Teachers are always the ones getting on the kids about, hey, I need you to not talk when I'm talking. Please, catch a bubble. Listen to what I have to say. And then you throw us all in a room, and that's all they do. Teachers are all, so that even the bosses, the principals have to be like,
hey.
Catch a bubble. And there's nothing more exciting than being 40 years old and being told to catch a bubble. So anyway.
But we go all day. Well, most teachers go all day talking to children.
Yeah.
We're lucky that we have a team. Most teachers do go all day long talking to children. And even though they're in a building full of adults, there's not a whole lot of adult conversation that goes on in their, 3 minutes of planning and their 2-minute lunch. I mean,
that's true. That's a good point.
So
that's sad. It's like I spend all day talking to an 8-year-old. Like, who wants that?
I know. Hey, we've had some 8-year-olds have some pretty great conversations.
That is true. That is true. So anyway, with all that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. Thank you, Amber, for hanging out with us and chit-chatting. And hey, anybody that's listening to this, if you haven't heard the other stuff, go ahead and listen to some of the episodes from the past. Way back in the day, like October. All right, that's it. I'm done. We'll see you later, Amber.
Bye.